What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Human Spectrum. Today is Hump Day. We're at June 19th, Wednesday, and there's a couple of things I want to show you toward the end of this video. But before we get there, I do want to give a shout out to, if I got the name right, um, I think it's Drop Dead Deb. I want to thank you for your kind words and thank you for subscribing. I appreciate it. And you've also have seen a few things. Um, but hopefully in the future you can catch some of those things on camera so we can have a copy of those and go over it, live. So that would be great. So thanks again, Dev. I appreciate you subscribing. And for all you other guys and girls out there that have subscribed, I appreciate it. This is a growing community. Um, in the community section, I put a question up, and we'll go over that probably tomorrow when we have a few more answers. Um, so, like I said, I'm going to show you a couple of things. Remember, I've been talking about how I've been finding an object next to the sun, and yesterday's video, I showed you probably the best picture that I could find or take with my phone, and I kind of blew it up a little bit, and you can actually see the object, and it wasn't at the 1 o'clock position, it was at the 11 o'clock position of the sun, not the 1 o'clock position. And so if you have a chance, look at yesterday's video, and I go more in depth into that one. But there's a few things I wanted to show you, and let me see if I can get this display up here. First thing I wanted to do is show you the sun. And I think I mentioned this maybe 3 videos back. I'm not sure. And if I didn't, I apologize. I'll mention it to you now. This is from NOAA, the Space Prediction Center. The same people that take care of the space weather, not the space weather, but the National Weather Service. And what I wanted to show you with this particular picture is they have control of how much black is around the sun. And here's what I mean by that. Let's say that object that I'm seeing near the sun, and I'm almost 100% sure there's someone, and many of you out there, because I've seen it on other channels, that have seen this secondary object wherever it is on the 11 o'clock position side of the sun. Whether, and it looks to me, I think it's behind it, but it's become more prominent. If you take a look at yesterday's video, you'll see that. So with that said, I always talked about when we're looking at the sun, and obviously we look for filaments and storms. I'm always checking in on that stuff. And right now we obviously have a huge coronal hole on the top of the sun, almost at the top, and we haven't seen one of those in a while. And we do have some large filaments that look like they can pop off at any time. This is kind of an active region, even though if you know anything about the sun, the negative and the positive, the blue and the red, if they're too close together, they usually pop off a few X flares or some pretty big M class solar flares. So, but this one here is so far hasn't been a big, money maker for us. So we've been fortunate, because with this heat and taxing our electricity, and it's going to be very hot for the next. I mean, yeah, we'll have a break in between, but you're going to have another. Like tomorrow's going to be the hottest day for us in the Northeast. I'm here in central New York, and they're talking about heat indices of 104. And then obviously, if no one has been paying attention, I've been looking into how they control. See, if I had my own telescope, it might be different. That's why I say check out Bruce Seasall. He can he can obviously control what he sees there. Usually it's just the disc, but when you're looking at this, and I know it's not just me, and it doesn't mean that because these are far out here on these edges, it doesn't mean the activity is that far out. They can control how far in that black goes, this black background, just so you know. So they can control that. Now, what do we see here? I see kind of like an empty area here. Again, this, if you want to be realistic, this whole coronal should be around like this. Should go all the way around that wide. That's my opinion. And there's the 11 o'clock position, if you want to look at it as a clock. And that's where I'm seeing that object now. Just look at yesterday's video and you'll see what I mean. So, and you can see the cutoff. So it's up to them how far they want that black area to encroach on this coronal area here. It's up to them. I'm not saying they're doing it on purpose, but I'm saying it's awfully suspicious that a lot of people around the world are seeing a second object near the sun with their regular phone, no special cameras. And finally, since we're going deeper toward the summer, we're almost there, this object is more prominent. And obviously I was lucky because I caught it without geoengineering towards sunset. And for some reason, if you take it at 11 or 12 noon, it's going to be very small looking. If you take it, and they're usually, and I'm talking about those skies are milky, you can barely see the sun during sunset, 9 times out of 10. But for some reason, yesterday I was able to see the sunset for the first time without geoengineering and milky skies in front of it. And what that did for me was, since the sun was setting, the sun looks bigger as opposed to during the day when it looks smaller when it's up above us. And when I did take those photos, it was right there I saw the object actually sticking out, where before I can only show you the 2 flares. Remember, you can't be behind glass. But for those of you who have been following me on this channel, this kind of makes sense that I don't know, in my opinion, I think they're possibly keeping this darkness closer here because of something maybe they don't want us to see. And do I kind of get that? Yeah, because people panic. But at the same time, there are some people that can handle it. So let me know in the comments what you think. But look, here it is. I don't know what's going on the bottom. I don't know if that's just where the occulter ends or how it works. But technically, I believe these sides here should be equal all the way around. And it's up to them, literally up to them, how far the black that's around this picture here from the Space Center, or NOAA, they control how far in that goes toward the sun. And I noticed that the 11 o'clock position has a little dent. So you tell me, you leave a comment, and you can say, hey, that's just the way their equipment works, or maybe you can side with me as a possibility that they might be doing that on purpose. But you got to think about it logically. We're seeing an object, and now this time I saw it without the milky sprayed skies from the geoengineering, and I found it sticking out over here. Just check out that video. So as far as the sun goes, I just wanted to point that out to you guys really quick, because that's, I don't know, it's almost like they can control how far they want that black to go. If they want it to go right to here, they can. If they want to eliminate this, they can. I mean, remember in 2012 we had that little, what they call the cavity. It looked like a tornado was attached to a round object here and then finally peeled away. um, some of you might know what I'm talking about. It looked like a planet, and it was like sucking energy from here for about a week. And then we finally saw the actual picture of it just taking off after like 7 days. And that's happened again recently, by the way. You'll find that on Mr. MB33's channel. So he talks about that what they call it a cavity. I don't know how a cavity has a solid feature that's attached to the sun and then pulls away when it's done. But that's what they call it, a cavity. So I guess that's what they want the masses to know. I don't know. But what do you think? I mean, it's clearly, I don't know. To me, it looks obvious that it's possible. I'm not saying it's for sure. I'm not the operator. I don't run their equipment. But I'd like your opinions and your comments. So, yeah, so moving on from that, um, our sunsets, and if you've been watching my previous videos and anybody else's videos, they've been talking about how the sun's been rising twilight, and I obviously showed proof the other day from my phone. At 3:55 to 4:11 in the morning, the skies were bright. They were lit up. And to give you a couple of example of sunrise times, um, like Chattanooga, they're expecting sunrise. Well, I don't know if that's the right one. I had the one for New York, upstate New York. Ours was 5:23 a.m. is when you're supposed to. There's three types of twilight. You got civil twilight. What was the other one? Yeah, you have civil twilight. You have, I think it's interstellar twilight, something like that. And then you have uh, like ocean twilight. And civil twilight is what we go by. So this is just an example of when the sun rises and when it sets for these cities. But for upstate New York, Maine, New England, um, and I think it was Wisconsin and Phoenix, Arizona, all reporting sunrise, twilight, civil. The times were 5:20 at that point. Tomorrow's sunrise, I believe the 20th is going to be 5:25 for our area, the Northeast. So we're talking, quite a few states. So the Northeast, the sunrise is expected to come up at 5, I think 25. Yeah, if I have that right. And that'll go on for another 3 or 4 days, and then it moves up another minute. And that'll do that until the first day of summer, then we start going backwards. So that was just one thing I wanted to touch on. So why are we seeing twilight? Um, they're they're starting to people are admitting that the Earth is tilting so much a year. Um, Look at this article here. Earth's axis has shifted. Why using groundwater is to blame. Now everybody's saying it's because the water we use is the reason that I mean literally they're saying it's the reason that the earth is tilting. All right, so 1 second here. I don't agree with that. I really don't. But if you look at this article, and when I typed it up in Google search, there were at least 2 pages of articles about this water being the reason why the earth has tilted. So basically they're admitting the earth is tilted. So that's almost like saying and it's tilted toward if you're looking at the earth, it's tilting toward the right. So it would be like New York heading toward North Carolina. I don't know if that has anything to do with the temperatures that we're going through right now, but all I can tell you is it's been very, very oppressive. And it says here on this website, desert.com, the Earth's axis is shifting east. So if you're looking at the sun, it's turning right. So that's east where the sun rises. So that kind of makes sense. And it's an estimated it's doing that at 1.7 inches every year, and I think that might be a little more, due to decades worth of consistent groundwater extraction and relocation, according to a study published in the journal by Geophysical Research Letters. So apparently this has been happening. They're blaming this tilting of the Earth from its regular point on the axis, which is it was already tilted, to it's been going on for decades. And it says the study said researchers from Korea, Australia, and the U.S. found that between 1993 and 2010, humans had extracted more than 2,150 gigatons of groundwater from inside the Earth. All right, I'm gonna say one thing right now. It's still raining on Earth, so I'm not being sold on this. Not at all. The Washington Post said that amount of water could fill more than 860 million swimming pools. So we're looking at now, Washington Post is mainstream media, and you know how I feel about mainstream media. They even go as far as putting in CNN. Whatever certain agencies or certain parts of the government do not want out in the media, they're going to make sure it's out. That's why we're already looking at we're basically looking at two mainstream media sources that are actually talking about it. Not that they're agreeing with it, but they're saying that's the reason for the extra tilt. We're talking about the Earth. We're not talking about the moon or something smaller. You're saying we're using water that much. I mean, it just infuriates me, because if you really want to get into it, God forbid we get that 0 point energy that we can use in our households that require no wires, and it can power your house the size of a shoebox to a cigarette pack. And they have that. People have invented it. Actually, there was a guy that has something, he has Tesla coils that he holds a light bulb to, and it lights up without touching it. So I'm going to put that in the description. I'm going to find that and put it in there for you guys to see. We have that. And over the years, and I'm talking about since Tesla did his testing on Long Island, and I think he had another one in Ohio. As soon as he passed away, what was the first thing the government did? They moved in, they took all his stuff and put it on a shelf, because it works. The electricity was being tapped off all around you. He called it from the stars, and this guy that I watched yesterday on YouTube, he had it right there in front of him. He won't tell you how it's made, but it's pretty small, and the things that it can do for you health-wise, aside from lighting up any electrical items in your house, I got to get that video in there for you guys to see. And they go on and talk more about water is the issue. I mean, if I go back, should let me go back. I want to kind of show you, when I did my search, that there are literally like 2 pages 2 pages of Google search results that were talking about water is the reason why the earth is tilting 1.7 inches every year. I don't know. Why weren't they talking about this 5 years ago? Why weren't they talking about this 10 years ago? We have an early sunrise twilight civil at 3:55 to 4:11, at least from my location. And we have over probably thousands of people across the United States and Canada saying the same thing. So, and now all of a sudden this is the excuse they put in because we're taking too much water out. Yep, they're pumping oil and fracking like crazy. I mean, come on. Seriously? I mean, and that's heavier, you know. Oil's not as it's heavier than water. Give me a break. So, I guess that's what the powers to be decided to give them because it's obvious to the people in this country at least that have been paying attention that something's not right if the sun is coming up and the birds are chirping between the 3 and 4 o'clock hour. I mean, and look how fast they came up with something. Can you believe this? Because of the water we're extracting out of the ground. But we can't talk about the oil because that's going to be the biggest fight when we do. I mean, I guess October 20th is the deadline for them to, whether you're private sector or government, to give everything that the Congress has been requesting for disclosure as far as if they recovered parts from aircraft not of this earth, anything reverse engineered. At this point, they would have to turn in their fleets because I believe they have fleets of these things. And you're telling me, all of a sudden, because everybody's noticing this early twilight, you're telling me that it's about water? Give me a break. I mean, maybe they're right. I'm just giving you my opinion. I'm not saying I'm right. So don't, I don't want anybody to think that what I'm saying is, that I'm saying this is the way it is and that's the way it's got to be. That's not how I operate. That's why I want your feedback. That's why I want your comments. And that's why I want to get into the live shows soon so we can communicate live and go over stuff like this. Really, we're having this early twilight. It's been going on. We're going on 2 weeks now. And this is the best thing they can throw at us. They didn't say anything about pumping oil out of the ground for the last 100 years. Like the documentary, The Lost Century. Apparently, we haven't needed any of that stuff for 100 years. Realistically, I would say 80 years. And you're talking about water. Look how fast they came out with an answer. So, I just wanted to point that out. So, that's just unbelievable. And we talked about the sunrises. And, yeah. And, yeah, shout out to at Jonathan Perez. He watched the episode, or not my episode. I'm not quite doing the podcasts yet until I get more subscribers, but I will get into that soon. But your smartphone can capture a lot more than your naked eye, and that's a fact. That's why I encourage everyone that's watching this, take your smartphone, daytime or nighttime, preferably away from the stars, the darkest part of the sky, and just take a few photos. You don't have to see anything, but if you happen to see something with the naked eye, definitely try and get a picture of it. But if there's nothing going on, take them anyway, because when you bring them in the house and you put them on your computer and just open up what Windows has for you and zoom in, you'll be surprised what you find. Because your camera is going to, remember, your camera has a few extra spectrums than we do, and that's just a fact. And shout out to Dark Strong. And let's see. Yeah, I can't get over that story. That was something else. Tell me what you think about that. We're constantly pumping oil, a lot thicker, out of the ground. They don't want to give it up because that's a $1 trillion industry. Because we can obviously we have the power to get rid of oil, but they're obviously not going to go down with a fight. These are people that have been, I'm not going to say names or families, but these are people that have been in power for a long time, and you try to take that oil away from them to just reduce it to just using it for Vaseline and whatever else and that's in the products in stores. That's not enough. They need you taking gallons and gallons for your cars and your equipment to take care of your lawns. And but look how fast they came out with, oh yeah, they are acknowledging that the earth has tilted though. Remember that fact. They're acknowledging that the earth has tilted. But I don't I don't believe that water is the reason for that. I really don't. Unless you do. Um, Head over to Google or Microsoft, do a search on your own, and just type in there, why is the Earth tilting in 2024? Make sure you add the year. And you're going to see water. Almost every other one's going to talk about water. And the dates come up right away. I mean, this one was, they talked about as far back as 2023. But 1.7 inches a year, and we're seeing Twilight in the Northeast and actually all over the place, not just the Northeast. I mean, I talk about Phoenix because that's where Mr. MBV333 is. He's down in the Phoenix area, and he's gone out at 3 o'clock in the morning and waited, and he's seen Twilight come up. I think his time was at 3:55, and it was just amazing to see those pictures. And when I saw him do that, I'm like, I'm going to try that and see if that's happening here. And I didn't think it would, but I was very surprised because I stayed up. I went outside around 3:30, and at 3:50, I started seeing Twilight. And if you go back to my previous video, you're going to see those pictures and how bright they are. I mean, literally looks like the sun is rising at 3:55, and my other pictures went to 4:11, and then to 4:25 it was over. And by 4:25 it looked like the whole sky was lit up. We just had some clouds above us, and it covered it up a little bit. But if those clouds weren't there, it would have been lit up even more. It's just crazy. Something is not right. Something is off. Something is wrong. And I don't believe this water thing. I don't care who these researchers are. You're calling it 2,150 gigatons of groundwater from the inside of Earth. Why don't we talk about why don't they tell them to tell us, why don't they have the mainstream media, since they're so controlled, and I know that, and most of you who are awake to this know that. Why don't they ask certain people that own these companies and pump, all this fuel out of the ground? Ask them what their number is. And I bet you it's much bigger than 2,150 gigatons. Especially considering the weight, the difference in weight in oil. It's just a load of crap, in my opinion. They're just, I just think they're lying. That's my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments. So, um, like I always say before I end my videos, um, there I didn't get anything in my email for UAPs or unknown objects. So today I decided to focus on the fact that the Earth has tilted a little more. I don't know how much yet. I'm going to research more and find out how much it's tilted. I'm going to try and do a 10-year study, like compress it, find out in 10 years. If it's 1.7, then I'll do the math on that. But 1.7 inches, I don't know. It's not like last year. Last year I was seeing that object near the sun, but the sun was rising. If it's set in my on my phone, the sunrise tomorrow is going to be at 5:38. The sun came up around 5:38. But this year, 2024, is a whole other ball game. Now, all of a sudden, the sun is coming up literally hours before the actual predicted by NOAA sunrise time, which is 5:25 tomorrow, June 20th. It's supposed to be 5:25 for my area. And I'm still seeing the sun twilight between 3:55 and 4:11. Something is very wrong. And it just looks like they just started bringing back some of the stuff they talked about last year, but most of the stuff that I found when I searched for that was all 2024. That's why I said put in 2024. This this hypothesis that the water that we're taking from the earth is causing the tilt to continue at a rate of 1.7 inches going east. So it's basically, I mean, it's like the earth is turning toward like the mid-Atlantic region, the northeast. It takes something, in my opinion, it would take a huge planet. I'm not saying the one by the sun, I'm not calling that a planet, but it would take a huge planet that's in our solar system that we're not allowed to see, for example, and pulling on all, I mean, like Mars, Venus, and Earth. And it's got to be big. That's one explanation, and we're not being told. Who knows? I don't know. But something's making the Earth tilt. I mean, how else do we explain that? That the twilight between 3 and 4 in the morning. I mean, obviously we should probably say from like 3:45 to 4:15 at this point, because obviously it's not coming up at 3 o'clock. But between 3:45 and 4:45 in the morning, it's bright outside. Something's wrong. If you have any idea why this is happening, if you have an opinion of what may be causing this, just in one season, in 2024, spring, late spring, early summer, this is happening. It didn't happen last year, it didn't happen 10 years ago, it didn't happen 5 years ago. I was outside many times. I've worked 11 at night until 7 in the morning shifts, and sunrises and sunsets were on pretty much on point with what the National Weather Service would tell me. But this is the first year it's not, and they're throwing water at us, but they're pumping gas or oil right out of the ground constantly. Let's see how many gigatons of that they've been dealing with for several decades. I don't know. It's something to think about. So that's all I have for today. If you like what we're talking about here, Subscribe, give me a thumbs up, help the channel out. Make sure you check out the community tab on my channel. Answer the question there. It's a pretty good one. I think you'll like it, and then we can go over it, and then I'll put another one up that's related to a current subject. But something is wrong, so probably this is a good time to start a channel on YouTube if we're interested in what's going on with our planet, what's going on with UAPs. All of a sudden, they're just all over the place, everywhere. And I don't believe smartphones are the excuse. Um, they're being seen in many different forms, shapes, colors. Um, they're calling them. They got squid ones that look like a robot floating in the air. I mean, I've seen like 5 or 6 of those already. But anyways, if you capture something, please send me a copy so we can go over it together here on the Human Spectrum. That would be awesome. I'd sincerely appreciate it. And that's all we have for today. I appreciate you joining me. And I hope you guys have a blessed day or night, wherever you're watching from. And stay tuned, we have more coming. Since this is not over with and it's still going, we still have that to talk about. But we really need to nail down this UAP issue, because there's more going on, and obviously, like I always say, I'm on the side of security. If we need to hide things for security reasons, I understand that. But if they're holding something back that can be beneficial to us, that would unfortunately stop the oil tycoons, then too bad. Because, I mean, literally, like I said before, people are still cooking with sticks and rocks. I mean, at least 1 billion people are still doing that. And what this can do is literally take poverty away from Earth. Not only help it come back to where it should be, but poverty on Earth would probably be changed within 10 to 20 years. I mean, if we have that kind of energy source that we can pull it right out of the air, then what are we doing with lions and stuff? Like I said, if you haven't seen the documentary The Lost Century, have at that, and then you understand what I'm talking about. So, from the Human Spectrum, you guys have a good night, and please leave a comment on what you think on these things, what your opinion was on my sun theory, and why that part is blacked out. Like I said, if you want to, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, look at yesterday's video, and then you'll know why I brought that up, because I don't control how much darkness they put around the sun. NASA and the Space Prediction Center have the tools and the power to either let it out to show you more or bring it in. But why is it in the spot that I'm suspicious of is what's interesting. And what's your opinion on water causing the Earth to tilt every year 1.7 inches? I think it's more than that, faster than that. That gave us earthquakes in places we usually don't have earthquakes. Let's say New Jersey and New York felt it. What was that, a month and a half ago? Maybe that's when it happened. I don't know. But I would really, really like to see some of the comments you guys leave me on that and your opinions. That's about it. You guys have a good night from the Human Spectrum, and we'll see you back tomorrow. And please send me whatever you have, copies, and we can go live, and together, live, we can go through it and figure it out and discuss it. All right, guys. Thanks for watching and take care. We'll see you tomorrow.